100 days to election 2024 in December. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Citiuation Room on ChannelOne TV here in Accra. This afternoon, we talk politics on this particular show, and this afternoon is not going to be different. We'll discuss politics here in the Greater Accra region. The region has become a very important part when it comes to the politics of Ghana, from history till today. It is always said that any political party that wins the Greater Accra region automatically wins the election. But if you look at the trend, has it been so over the years? This afternoon on Citiuation Room, we'll give you a breakdown on the number of seats won by both the NPP and the NDC since 2012 till date, what the two political parties need to do to win more seats in this particular region, which is considered a swing region as far as Ghana's electoral history is concerned. We'll also tell you the number of seats each of these political parties have won since 2012 and to date, and the projections for the December 2024 election. When we come back, I'll tell you my guest. Welcome back to the Citiuation Room here on ChannelOne TV. Most of the times, I do this program with my partner in crime, my friend and my colleague, Umaru Sanda Amadu. But today, Umaru Sanda is not around. But today, I'm doing with another partner in crime. He's the chief producer of this particular show. But this time around, we're dragging him into the studio to come and be a co-host. Who am I talking about? My friend, my colleague, my brother, Fred Tete Jabano. Fred, welcome. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
We brought you from production to main presentation today. How does it feel like?
When people deceive me and lie to me and force me to come and stand here to speak to you, do I have a choice?
You don't have a choice. You have to be here. So this afternoon, we are talking about politics in the Greater Accra region. It's considered to be an important part of Ghana's political history, or whoever wants to become president of this country. It's always known to be a swing region, and it's believed that any political party that wins the Greater Accra region automatically wins the presidency. But has it been so over the years, or there's been a different trend? We'll let you go into the details of this particular one. But then, what's your general impression about the politics of Greater Accra region?
So, the politics of the Greater Accra is interesting. When you look at the region, it's made up of different sects of people. It's actually cosmopolitan. Yeah. So it's made up of different groups of people, different class of people, different ethnic groups. Before I go on, I'll ask you a question, like Bernard will do to you every time. And he'll say, do you know the number of people in Greater Accra as per the census by the Ghana Statistics
The last
Service?
census, if my memory serves me right, and what the Ghana Statistical Service put out, I think Greater Accra should be doing between 4 million and 5 million. But yes, the last figures put out by the Ghana Statistical Service.
Yeah, somehow right. So we have close to about 6 million people
here in Greater Accra.
In Greater Accra.
We are 6 million here.
Yes, close to 6
million.
No
wonder Accra is
choked.
No wonder we have too much traffic here.
6 million, close to about 6 million people here in Greater Accra. And when you look at the breakdown of the figures, it's quite interesting. You look at the number of males, the number of females. We have about 2.7 males, 2.6 males here, and we have close to like 3 million females in Greater Accra. That's quite an interesting dynamics. But when it comes to election, we also want to look at different things and different segments of people which make up the voter population of Greater Accra. When we go back to the Ghana Statistical Service and their numbers, it's quite interesting. You would realize that, one, the voting age, so somewhere from 18 all the way up, would make up more than 3 million of the numbers. From 20 to about 60 or 70 years, when you put it together, altogether is about 3.5 million.
Okay.
So from 20 to is about 3.3 million. 3.3 million. That's people aged 20 years to
those qualified 70. Enough to vote.
Qualified enough. We have even added the 18-year bracket to it. Do you know the number of, in terms of ethnic groups, the largest ethnic group in Greater Accra?
It will be the Akans.
It will be the Akans.
It will be the Akans, yeah.
Will you want to figure out the numbers?
No, I'm not sure of that.
There are about 2 million.
2 million accounts
in
Greater
Accra region. 2
million
accounts in Greater Accra region as per the GSS. Do you know who follows next?
The Gandangbe, because they are the indigenous.
Yes, the Gandangbe would go somewhere about 1.3 million.
Okay.
And then we have the Evers. who are about 1 million.
Okay.
Then it goes down. The Guans are 83,000. The Mole Dagbanis are about 307,000. The Mandays are about 55,000. And other ethnic groups are put together will be about 143,000. So this makes up the look of Greater Accra in terms of the people, their age.
As they will say, everybody there here.
Everybody there here, and who would fit into the voting category and how they usually would vote.
Yeah.
So coming back to your question of how is the Greater Accra region is, like the Greater Accra region, as we all know, is the capital. In the capital, everything goes on. Different segments of people, the middle class, the low class, the high class, everybody is here. You have a huge number of young people in the Greater Accra region. You have a large number of unemployed people in the Greater Accra region. The Greater Accra region, I always say, per our election and voter population, I like to break it in different parts. We look at the coastal part of the Greater Accra region. We look at the inland part of the Greater Accra region. And we go into the the Dangbe part of the Greater Accra region. All of them have a special way of voting. There are some similarities, but there are also a lot of differences with the way they vote. So the Greater Accra is quite interesting, from ethnic to even segmentations in terms of inner, coastal, and the far end. Then we look at the messages and the expectations of the people of the Greater Accra region. So that's the dynamics when it comes to the Greater Accra region.
We'll delve more into the Greater Accra region and the politics of Greater Accra region. Already, the two main presidential candidates, John Dramani Mahama of the NDC and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, have had time to do some campaigning here in the Greater Accra region. John Mahama yesterday was somewhere in the Amasama constituency around the Ajen Kutuku area there. Today, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia of the MPP is in the Domi Kwabenya constituency. So a few days ago, he was in the Ablekuma North, Ablekuma West constituency, that side. And because of the importance of the Greater Accra region, these two political parties are doing everything possible to win this region. Now, let's take you to a video of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia campaigning in the Ablekuma North or the Ablekuma Enclave when he toured that particular region, campaigning here in the Greater Accra region. After that, we'll take you to John Dramani Mahama, flag bearer of the NDC, who has also been doing some tour and campaigning here in the Greater Accra region as well.
The government is from every time the business, actually for businessmen and women. Every time we cheat. Me, a dear here, Mopa, a sika. And yes, sir, a dear here, Mopa, a sika. Sika, you did mamma, number business. I know they hear. When you sika, go to me, business in me. You need two institutions, Baku Madi, Women's Trade Empowerment Fund. In Ghana, to buy anything, you have to look for cash. It's cash down before you buy anything. And so life is hard. Because everything is cash. If you want a house, someone abroad, you pay it over 30 years. Mortgage. You have to look for money to build it yourself. Or go and buy it fully cash. So life tends to be much harder if you are a teacher here versus a teacher in the UK. Even if you are paid the same amount, they will be able to consume more than you because they have a credit system. By the grace of God, before the end of this year, because the work has been completed, before the end of this year, before we vote, Ghana will start moving into credit scoring.
Life. You always have to keep solving problems. It's only when life has ended and they put you 6 feet down that you stop solving problems. When you solve a problem, another problem is waiting for you to solve. Lately, I see our colleagues in MPP, they've adopted a slogan. They say to lead is to solve. It's true. When you lead, you have to keep solving problems. The problems never stop. So even America, the American president has not solved all the problems. He has to keep solving. As they move forward, they keep solving the problems. Challenges will face you and you solve them. So I was a bit amazed when somebody asked the question at the media encounter, and the person said, but if you say you abolish taxes, you do this, why don't you do it now? And then somebody replied and said, if I do it now, when you make me president, what will be left for me to do? Yemreso, there are 4,000 and something kilometers of roads. And so Domiabra obom enya omochefa. Yeni yes akwa yen fi kaswa, etwemo ekwa mansaman. Ezu ansa na ye free abamu na sa akwa yin na ye yi ato ho a eche se ye kama na se mo amadom ya bra obom akwan ni bia anka omo dia obi nso aya ma omo no anka maintenance kakra anka mo be maintain amakwan no aye yie no eno so mo anye ene hwe sa akwan yi amefa so bai.
NDC presidential candidate John Dramani Mahama, he wants a resetting for Ghana. Earlier, you heard Dr. Muhammad Bawumia, flag bearer of the MPP, who wants to upgrade Ghana. So a campaign of resetting and upgrade, or campaigning the Greater Accra region, looking for votes to push the agenda of resetting or upgrade. Fed, you heard the two presidential candidates there, campaigning here in the Greater Accra region in various constituencies, as we heard them in that video clip. The region has become an important part in Ghana's politics. But in all this, there are faces who have, championed the cause of the two political parties within the Greater Accra region. Within the MPP, you could mention individuals like former Speaker, the late Peter Alajete. One person the MPP adores most within the Greater Accra region. Odwe Site, a former national chairman of the MPP. And then you can talk about Professor Sai, who was also one person the MPP adores more within the Greater Accra region. Within the NDC, which are these individuals the party looks up to with the region?
From the onset of the party, you had people like D.F. Annan, who was a former speaker also.
I think the longest serving speaker.
Yes, the D.F. Annan, who served for 2 terms as speaker. Yeah. Then we have Justice, that's a Okanja Adamafio.
Okay.
He used to come from the Odododio area.
Yeah.
Very popular, very strong man. Very articulate. Then you have somebody like Harry Sawyer, who also represented...
Growing up, that's the name we used to hear, Minister of Education.
Former Minister of Education. He came from the Osu area, which is the Kwale-Klote area.
Okay.
He was also very popular within the NDC circles in the Greater Accra, a founding member. These people are all founding members of the party and senior members and the Council of Elders for the Greater Accra region. Unfortunately, these people have all passed. So you have a new crop of leaders in the Greater Accra region who have taken up this particular position, and new people who also have grown into it. So you see the daughter of Harry Sawyer, who was a former deputy chief of staff, Valerie Sawyer, who is also playing very important roles in the Greater Accra region. You have a Fantiman and a Garman who has taken has led the Greater Accra region for I think 2 terms before losing this particular election, Adekoka, and all the likes, who are now also trying to now take hold of the Greater Accra region and lead the Greater Accra region. So for the NDC and the MPP, we have the old faces and there's a new face, Henry Korte.
Yeah.
Henry Korte for the MPP is one of the new faces who is now leading the Greater Accra, who is leading the charge for the people in Greater Accra. You have the Director of Operations at the
Lord
flags
Comey.
of Lord
Yeah,
Comey,
Lord Comey.
who is also now one of the
one
new
of the
faces
for the MPP
of the
in the
MPP
region,
in
yeah.
the Greater Accra region. So yes, the old people are gone, but there are still
There's a
new
new
people,
generation who are
who are
taking-
coming up to take over the reins of controlling the parties in the Greater Accra region.
Definitely. So the parliamentary seats in the Greater Accra region, 34, from 2012 to 2020. We're not sure if there will be an increment for the December election, but since we don't have information today, I'm not sure there will be an increment. So 34 seats here in the Greater Accra region. Fred will take us through the parliamentary history of the Greater Accra region from 2012 to 2020. The number of seats both political parties have won from 2012 to date, and possible projection for the December election, and see how many seats the other political parties or any of these political parties will win in the December election. Fred, so just take us through
Yes,
the,
I mean, before that,
yeah.
let's look at the numbers in terms of registered voters
Okay.
in 2016 and 2020. As you said, 2024, we don't really know
Yeah,
the actual
yeah.
numbers now. In 2016, there were 3,105,262 registered voters in the Greater Accra region.
Okay.
In 2020, this number shot up. It shot up to 3,220,992 registered voters
Okay.
in Greater Accra. So you see the difference from 2016 to 2020. We had a difference of about 100,000
Yeah.
people adding to the numbers for 2020.
And there's a possibility that in December the number may
It's
go
going
up.
to go up.
May go
it's
up.
going to
yeah.
go up. So far, the numbers which have been churned out obviously shows that the number would go up. But let's, as you said, let's look at
the parliamentary history of the Greater Accra
and the
region.
performance of the political parties here. So this is a general performance of parliamentary. We'll go into each year and how they performed separately. But when you look at 2012, you realize that the MPP had 9 seats in the Greater Accra region. 9 seats in the Greater Accra region, while the NDC had 18 seats in the Greater Accra region. 2012, this was the year Professor Atta Mills died. John Mahama took over late in the election, was campaigned and won that particular election, even though it was sent to court to be challenged later. But in terms of parliamentary, the NDC managed to claim 18 seats, whilst the MPP had 19 seats.
9 seats.
18 and 9 seats. In 2016, the whole thing turned upside down. 2016 was when we had the 1 million vote gap.
Yeah.
President Nana Akufo-Addo won that particular election after losing 2012 and came in 2016, lost that particular election, won that particular election. And he won that particular election massively. And everything changed. Everything changed. And the Greater Accra followed that trend of the change. So you realize that in the seats for 2016, the MPP now moved from 9 seats to 21 seats.
In just 4 years.
In just 4 years. At this time in 2020 and 2016, the numbers had increased to 34 seats, to 274 seats, 75 seats from 230 seats.
Yeah.
So in 2012 it was 230 seats. In 2016, it moved up to 275 seats.
As we have it currently.
Currently, yes. So MPP shot up to 21 seats, and the NDC had 13 seats.
So you realize that in 2016, NDC reduced the number of parliamentary seats from 18
to
13.
They lost 5 seats.
5 seats, yeah.
They lost 5 seats, whilst the MPP gained more seats. Gained more seats. And as I said, there were new seats added. Yeah. So you realize that the NPP gained more. But when we go into the actual figures, we'd realize in 2020, generally, the trend changed again. The NDC won the Greater Accra region with 20 seats. And the MPP lost the parliamentary with 14 seats. So from 21 seats, they lost 7 seats. And the NDC gained 27 seats from 13 seats. That's the general picture when it comes to the parliamentary seats from 2012 to 2020. Let's go to the presidential elections in 2012. In 2012, we had Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as the presidential candidate for the MPP. We had John Dramani Mahama as presidential candidate for the MPP, for the NDC. Coming into this election, Nana Addo had already run the election in 2008. where he lost to Professor John Evans Atta Mills. This particular election in 2008 went for 3 rounds, as we would like to put it. It went for 3 rounds, and he eventually lost. The gap was not so much. But when it comes to 2012, there was a different change. There was a change in the faces of presidential candidates. You have the late comer John Dramani Mahama, who was vice president at the time, coming in to lead the NDC as presidential candidate. In that election, in the Greater Accra region, the NDC, the MPP won by 952,218 votes, which represented 54.5% of the votes, the total votes in the total votes cast in the Greater Accra region. The NDC's John Mahama had 782,209 votes, representing 44.7% of the votes. You know, whilst you were doing your intro, you made a comment and said whoever won the Greater Accra region.
That has always been
been
the saying,
But in 2012, it didn't happen like that. And I would also prove to you that it didn't happen
in 2020.
So yes, the Greater Accra region is quite interesting. It usually would show you the direction people are going, but it really does not decide who becomes president. It doesn't decide who becomes president. So we talked about the parliamentary seats. There were 27 seats in Greater Accra at the time. And as I said earlier, the MPP had 9, the NDC had 18. Let's go to the 2016 election for the Greater Accra region. The 2016 election, as we said, was an election which the numbers churned out, the results, the final results really did not, well, I say it made sense, but was quite interesting. The gap was huge.
But at that time, there was a clamor for change.
Yes.
And a lot of people wanted to see the back of the NDC because, you know, many have said that they've done their 8 years, so it was okay. And so Nana Akufo-Addo had also rebranded himself as the go-to person, the messiah, the savior. And remember at that time, Dr. Bawumia was doing his normal economic lectures, you know, moving from one place to the other. And so a lot of people felt that, oh, okay, let's give these people a chance. That might have prompted the change in why people voted massively for the MPP at that time.
Let's look at the issues in 2016, especially in the Greater Accra region. There was an issue of premix fuel within the
coastal areas.
There was an issue of roads within the inner part of Greater Accra. There was the conditions of living, the high cost of living, inflation, the power crisis, where you had so much business, a lot of businesses in the Greater Accra region, people losing their jobs, businesses collapsing and all that. So in 2016, the politics in the Greater Accra region was quite interesting and very different from area to area. You had the general high cost of living, which everybody suffered. You had the power crisis, which everybody suffered. But when you come to developmental issues, when you get to the coast, their major concern was that there was no premix fuel.
Because a lot of them, they are fisher folks.
Exactly.
A lot of them are farmers, fishmongers, and the rest. So premix is always an important part.
You go to areas like the Ododo areas, the Ladade Kotopon, the Lejokuku, which has Teshi, the Krowa, which has Nungwa, where you have a lot of fisher folks there. And even the constituency where the current Deputy Information Minister is, English Yamanfo.
Sylvester Tete.
Yes, that's also around the coast. So you had people over there who were also suffering from this issue of premix and how premix was being distributed at the time. In 2016, all these things went to affect the final results of the election. So you realize that at the end of the count in 2016, in the Greater Accra region, Nana Addo had 1,062,157 votes. Then the John Dramani Mahama, who was president at the time, an incumbent president, had 946,048 votes. Nana Addo had 52.4, and John Mahama had 46.7. What happened to parliamentary? This time again, there was a turn in the parliamentary figures. The MPP won 21 seats, and the NDC had 13 seats. So you realize that the MPP won both presidential and parliamentary. But in 2016, 2012, it was a different thing.
Yeah.
In 2012, even though the MPP won presidential, the NDC won parliamentary.
Okay.
It won parliamentary, which goes to tell us something. It goes to tell us that when it comes to parliamentary elections, the decision for voters to choose a particular candidate is usually local.
Local politics have been
Very local. Development and local politics. Issues which are quite different from the way they would vote nationally in terms of presidential. In terms of somebody who lead them in parliament, it's very, 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 very local, especially in the Greater Accra region.
Okay.
So you realize that you may even win presidential and you lose the parliamentary, which happened in 2012. But in 2016, the MPP won and won parliamentary.
Parliamentary as well. Fred, I know you have data for 2020, but let's go for a quick break. When we'll come back, I'll let you take us through the 2020 data and the other data that you have. You're still watching the Situation Room on ChannelOne TV here in our studio in Accra. We'll go for a quick break. When we come, Fred will take us through the other data and statistics that he has. Welcome back to the Situation Room here on ChannelOne TV. Before we went for the break, Fred was taking us through the political and parliamentary history of the Greater Accra region. Took us to 2012 and then 2016, that massive change that happened within the region. He's going to take us through the 2020 data as well. But remember in 2020, something significant happened in the history of the world, I'll put it that way. There was COVID. And so campaigning within Ghana and any other part of the country where there was election was limited. But campaigning still went through. I remember Nana Akufo-Addo, I followed Nana Akufo-Addo in that particular campaign where he taught many parts of the country. In the Greater Accra region as well, he taught here in the Greater Accra region. And his message was simple. He needed another time to continue what he has started already as president of the Republic. And so Ghanaians needed to vote for him again so that he will continue that. John Mahama of the NDC at that time too said he needed to come back to come and change certain things that he did wrong and wanted another opportunity to be president of Ghana again. We'll take you to some videos of the two presidential candidates in the 2020 election, some of the campaign messages they put out and what they said to the people. So President Akufo-Addo at that time in 2020 when he was campaigning here in the Greater Accra region, and John Dramani Mahama, presidential candidate of the NDC in the 2020 election, also telling the people of the Greater Accra region what he will do if he becomes president of the Republic again. The final day of the president's tour began with a meeting with the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs at Dodowa. The president gave an account of his stewardship under 4 years of his administration and his achievements. Nana Akufo-Addo says a total of 887 projects are being executed in the region, with some 423 completed and 424 ongoing. The president also announced plans by government to establish a committee to look into the compulsory acquisition of lands by government.
Let me also indicate to you my commitment to establishing a committee, God willing, early next year, to take a comprehensive look at the issue to do with the compulsory acquisition of lands by government, its consequences, and the possible restoration of lands to their allodial owners. The committee will make appropriate recommendations for the decision of government. With a few weeks to the holding of the elections, the setting up of this committee this year may not be feasible. However, as a sign of my commitment to this, I'm tasking the Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs to begin stakeholder consultations with the House so an agreement can be reached on the composition of this committee and its terms of reference.
The president was also at the Infectious Disease Center at Dodowa to inspect ongoing works. The center was established in the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic. President Akufo-Addo was also at the Madina constituency to meet Zongo chiefs and religious leaders and called on them to retain their MP Boniface Abubakar Siddiq in the upcoming election. He was also at the Presbyterian Senior High School, Pesek Legon, to commission a 12-unit classroom block built to address the challenge of the double-track system in the school. The president ended the tour with a mini rally at La Paz, where he called on Ghanaians to renew his mandate.
Akabosumu mienu na ye ifie na ye de oman so ame. Jimi kase bosse kwara bi ba be jam ni bi ase bo. Ese me kire mo se me sa ho anu adwuma amaye no. Esomoni ana ensomoni se esomoni a se me sa no adwuma esomoni dia me sramo abaye ba beto in December akabu so many bibi kakra akei moma 4 years for nanano enye adwuma moma 4 years for nanano enye adwuma na ma me kwan na me to abadwuma no so na bebrebe a catch asese ye fa Ghana into
onye wo point na kanichimo ni wabashe ni nungwa maybe o tashi oke o mancheme ke manyeme ngbasa ni alonoko keke onu blomo ye se ake agye zuke zake no nibi ebake anameni gba ona lebi na kan ewo sani oke bule abahanye onye le ake kenye nu block ye se won NDCB ni won fe won meeting few ke sani wo fe koni party he wale fe abaka na kan polling station branches emi eja ke noji choe noji eshishi e won gbene ke ote district assembly polling station branch no na branch chairman kan branch secretary ake wo wolo e baba niji wo branch register ke o kan ekome enyo eten eje enumo no me ni won chue work development projects mba one ma schools millennium schools and kayake ni wo ba no me won fe shift system in Accra bi obana school bi ko ke o na me ake am morning meneme hu ye afternoon ni wo kake wo ba end shift system ya Accra. We started.
Former President John Dramani Mahama, an NDC presidential candidate in the 2020 election. So that video was in 2020. He was somewhere around the Nungwala Badi area. Earlier, you heard or you watched President Akufo-Addo, who was seeking re-election in the year 2020, in October of 2020 at La Paz. I followed him to that particular rally there, and then he was telling the people why he should be given another term in office. So don't be mistaken, Akufo-Addo is not seeking re-election. That video was in 2020. Fred, so you had a campaign in 2020.
Yes, but did you realize the message for 2020?
He wanted to continue.
Actually, yes, but the message was about education, free SHS.
Okay.
So when you listen to both candidates in the video we played, most of them they were talking about what they had done. So Nana Addo had just introduced the free SHS after winning the 2016 election. Yeah. In 2017, he introduced the introduced the free SHS. This was the time where the NDC had raised concerns with the implementation of the free SHS and whether it should have been a wholesale or it should have been selected. So going into the 2020 election, the biggest campaign message for the MPP was the free SHS. And the other issue the NDC had to deal with was also the free SHS. How to tell Ghanaians that yes, even though the MPP had brought the free SHS, it's not the right thing. So you heard John Mahama in Ghana saying that they had come to abolish the shift system. And it has been brought back due to free SHS, and that people were not the quality of education. So in 2020, you realize that that was basically the campaign message for the MPP, and the NDC had to find a way of dealing with the campaign message. Of course, there were the issues of the economy and cost of living and COVID and the kind of COVID expenditures the government had made at the time. So that went into the campaigning in Greater Accra. Outside, as I said, the local politics, premix would always be an issue in parts of Greater Accra. Terrible roads, bad roads, in terms of infrastructure would be an issue in the inner part of Greater Accra. when you go to the Adan areas, you go to the Dangbe areas, they also had their own issues.
Of course.
You understand? So they all fed into the Greater Accra region campaigning for 2020. And you know, this was the second term of a government.
Yeah.
Usually in the second term of a president, even though they are likely to win, the numbers will drop.
Will drop, yeah.
So let's see what happened in 2020 with the Greater Accra region. With the Greater Accra region, Nana Addo this time had 1,250,000 votes, 250,174 votes, representing 48.1% of the votes. John Mahama had 1,326,596 of the votes, representing 51.0% of the votes. We come back to our other analogy. Nana Addo loses the Greater Accra region. In 2016, Nana Addo was in the region of 952.
So this 2012.
Sorry, this 2012.
2012.
In 2016,
yeah.
Nana Addo had 1,062,157 votes.
Okay.
62,157 votes.
Yeah.
As against John Mahama's 946,048 votes. Let's come to 2020. What happened?
Akufo-Addo had 1,250,174 votes, representing 48.1%.
Yes.
John Mahama 1,326,596 votes, representing 51.0%. It means that John Mahama won the Greater Accra region in 2020.
Yes. Nana Addo increased his votes, actually. Okay. He didn't reduce in votes. He increased votes because he came from 1,062,157 to 250, so over 200,000 votes. Yeah. He increased his votes by over 200,000 votes.
Okay.
Whilst John Mahama moved from 946,000 to over 1.3 million votes.
So that's close to over 400,000 votes. Yeah.
So even though the MPP lost in this particular election in the Greater Accra, they increased their numbers in terms of votes. But what happened was that the numbers of John Mahama and the NDC were more. They increased significantly. Yeah. What happened within the same election for parliamentary? Parliamentary, don't forget, in 2016, the MPP had won both presidential and parliamentary in Greater Accra. In 2020, it turned again.
Okay.
The NDC won presidential and won parliamentary with 20 seats. The MPP lost presidential and lost parliamentary. In 2016, the MPP had 21 seats, sorry. Now, they moved from 21 to 14. That's about losing about 7 seats. Yeah. They lost about 7 seats coming from 2016 into 2020. We now this time you ask yourself, is it just local politics or national politics mixed with local politics?
You consider both. You may want to consider both.
You may have
numbers. You may want to consider both.
You may have to consider both. But as I said, we should not ignore the importance of local politics in terms of our constituency and parliamentary elections. They play very key roles in people deciding as to who they vote for. In 2016 or 2012, you realize that we say there was a skirt and blouse.
Yeah, so
we say there was a skirt and blouse. In 2016,
it was straight skirts.
It was straight skirts.
No blouse.
No blouse. In 2020, it was straight skirts.
Yeah.
No blouse.
It was only blouse, no skirts.
So you realize that, yes, the elections and the dynamics in Greater Accra, they are not static.
Yeah.
It changes. And you see, because Accra happens to be the capital region, and you have so many people here from Accra, usually people want to test the pulse of Accra to see whether really the government is performing or is not performing. And because of the different groups and sections of people we have, you realize that when you do the test, they can tell you maybe unemployed people, this is the number, they are not happy. You come, oh, employed people, cost of living is high, rising fuel prices, increasing, depreciating cedi, bad roads. You go, there's an issue of premixed fuel, there's an issue of even distribution of developmental projects in certain areas. So it all goes in to feed into how people vote here in the Greater Accra region. But when we come back to the Greater Accra region, there are also very interesting dynamics. There are some constituencies in the Greater Accra region which also like to do the chameleon kind of, the chameleon kind of, yes, that chameleon, they're always changing their colors.
They've not maintained an MP for 2 terms. They may want to do only a term and then push that MP away.
That's
and may consider Adenta constituency as one of them. Because it's been NDC, MPP, NDC as it is now. So if you look at the statistics from 2012, it was an NDC member of parliament. Is it Edu Asare?
Yes,
Edu Asare, yeah, Swagger. So in 2016, Boabia Samoa comes in.
In 2016, it was Ashimor.
It was Ashimor?
Yes.
Okay, Ashimor comes in there. And then,
no, we are actually wrong.
Boabia Samoa.
Boabia Samoa.
Yeah, Boabia Samoa comes in.
In 2016 was Ashimor. In 2020 was, in 2012 was Edward Sare. He lost in 2012.
Yes.
Ashimor won to 2016. And they
Boabia
Samoa won in the 2016 elections.
Yes.
And was there from 2017 to 2021.
Yes. And then Ramadan comes in, kicks out Boabia Samoa, and he becomes a member of parliament. So he's been NDC, MPP, NDC. In this particular election, we do not know because the MPP candidate there is Akosua Menu, who is the current deputy CEO of the Youth Employment Authority. There are many who have said that if the trend continues as it is now, there may be another switch from the NDC. Ramadan is going again. In the last primaries, he went unopposed. So if Ramadan is able to win, he may be the first.
He didn't go unopposed. He actually was
against Nano Elita. Yes. Sorry about that. Against Nano, and then I think Ramadan won.
Yes,
Ramadan,
he won.
Ramadan still won. So there are people who have said that if Ramadan is able to go ahead and win the December election, he may serve 2 terms. And he may break that particular record.
It's not surprising that before John Mahama went to campaign in the north, he went to Adenta to campaign there. He spent a day in Adenta to campaign in the Adenta constituency before he left to the north to go and campaign. This was before the unveiling of their launch of their campaign. This was before the launch of their campaign. He went to Adenta, spent the entire day in Adenta campaigning. And I'm sure one of the reasons is what you have just said, that the people of Adenta just do not keep a parliamentary candidate. The NDC have done well in terms of presidential in the Adenta constituency. But when it comes to parliamentary, it's always been that shift. The NDC may have won more, but the issue is that an individual or a candidate has not won twice. So yes, the party may have won back to back, but the issue is the candidate always changes. So if you have the same candidates now, you'll be asking yourself, what is going to happen to me? So that is it with the Adenta constituency in terms of the parliamentary. Do you have any other constituency?
Another constituency is also the Ablekuma Central constituency. Interesting constituency. In 2012, it was the NDC, Tete Chai, who I think is the current Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the NDC. And then he lost to the MPP's Ebenezer Na in the 2016 election. In 2020, Ebenezer lost to, I think, Abdul Latif, who is the current member of parliament for the area. He went unopposed in the last primary, so he's going to represent the party again come December. His main challenger is Jefferson Saki, Deputy Director of Communications at the Jubilee House. There are people who have In the last
one of our episodes had
yes, I think the last one
last week with Musa Dankwa.
Musa Dankwa's projection looks like it doesn't look that good for Jefferson, and then he must do extra work to, one way or the other, win the seat for the MPP, because there are a few issues. He spoke about what's happening nationally,
yes,
affecting his parliamentary bid in that area, and so Jefferson needs to do extra. If Jefferson is able to win that seat, then we go back to the NDC, MPP, NDC, MPP again. But if he's unable to win, the NDC then gets the opportunity to retain the seat back-to-back in that particular constituency.
Quite interesting. Ablekuma Central, and just look at the other constituencies bordering Ablekuma Central. You have Ablekuma West.
Yes.
Which
has
purely
MPP,
blue.
MPP, blue throughout.
Very blue.
Yes.
You have,
and then you have Ablekuma South,
which
NDC
is
throughout. NDC throughout.
So,
yeah. So the central being in the middle are those who switch from MPP and NDC in every election. In December, the expectation is whether for the MPP to reclaim it or the NDC to retain the seat and still go ahead and for the member of parliament for the area to continue serving in that constituency.
Yes, I mean, the Ablekuma Central constituency, before all this, I know you to be someone who used to stay and live and run around that particular constituency a lot.
I've played there before. I'll leave it that way. I've played there before. I'll leave it
Interesting. Let's go to the English Botiano.
Yeah.
That's also quite an interesting constituency. That constituency was created in 2012. That constituency was created in 2012. The NDC won the parliamentary in 2012 with Bright.
Demoji, a very good friend.
Yes.
Having heard from me again after his loss in that election.
When you lose an election,
you're going to hibernation,
forced to go and rethink your political career. Probably, maybe Bright has gone to rethink his political career. Yes, but this is the presidential. Quite interesting.
Okay.
In 2012, the NDC won by 50.6% of the votes. Bright Jumodi won the parliamentary seat in 2012. In 2016, the MPP won that particular seat with 52.8%.
That was Alaji, I forgot his name. He was one Muslim, one Alaji Latif or something.
Yes.
I'll get the name, yeah.
He won parliamentary. Yeah. President Nana Akufo-Addo won presidential in 2016. Then in 2020, they brought in a new face for the MPP.
That was Sylvester Tete, the current Deputy Minister of Information.
Exactly. And the MPP won both presidential and parliamentary.
In 2024, he's the same candidate for the MPP in that particular constituency. The NDC has also brought in a new candidate.
A new candidate who, incidentally, is also Ghana.
Okay.
Since the creation of this particular constituency, the people who have led the MPP and the NDC have not been from the Ghana origin.
Okay.
There's been the two Voltarians leading there. And it's not surprising looking at the makeup
of that area. Yeah.
Even though it's mainly Ghana, the NDC have never presented a Ghana candidate. For the first time, they have also presented a Ghana candidate. So we'll see how interesting that particular constituency would go. Let's go to Klotekole. Klotekole. 96 NDC, 2000, 2004 MPP, 2008 NDC, 2012 NDC, 2016 MPP, 2020 NDC. We have Dr. Zenator Ajiman Rollins. 2024, quite interesting. The race which was supposed to take place in 2016 is now coming to take place in 2024, where you had Ninoy, who is very popular within the Klotekole area. With Zenator, that was a race we were all looking for in 2016 till that disqualification and the bringing in of Philip Addison to take over the parliamentary candidature for the MPP in 2016. So 2024 is going to be quite interesting, and there will be one constituency we'll be looking at. Let's do Krowa so we wrap up. When you look at it, quite interesting. Green, blue, green, blue, green. Krowa 96 NDC 2000 MPP 2004 MPP 2008 NDC. 2012, NDC. 2016, MPP. 2020, NDC. 2016, they had a parliamentary candidate who was MP. Okoboy, he's contesting again against the gentleman who...
No, Okoboy was Lejo Kuku.
Oh, sorry.
Okoboy,
I'm sorry, this is Crowell.
She was Afole,
the fisheries minister.
The fisheries minister,
sorry.
Yes.
This is the fisheries minister. She won in 2016. Nanado won in 2016. Yeah. In 2020, she was removed.
By the, Namomo, yes, Namomo.
And Namomo has solidified her position in that particular area. You see the kind of work she's doing there. We've seen the Crowell parliamentary candidate for NPP, who's also putting a lot of work.
Effort.
It's going to be also another interesting constituency for us to look at. If there's one more to go.
No, we can do that. Lejo Kuku is one area a lot of people are looking forward to in the December election.
Yes.
Dr. Bernard Okoboy, his main campaign slogan is Sankofa.
And we have Honorable Ayuku,
who is also the member of parliament for the area. He the same. In fact, it's going to be a repetition of 2020.
Yes.
And so we'll see how the dynamics.
And that election was very close.
Very close one.
That election was very, very close. I remember the night when, at a point, you realized that the story came in and said that Okoboy had won. Then, in some few minutes, they said Ayuku had won. It was like that, till finally Okoboy exited the coalition center, and we realized that Ayuku had won. Quite an interesting constituency. This is the Teshi area. This Teshi area is an area which has
typical Gan community.
A proper Gan community and a proper estate middle class community. You look at areas like
the Greater Estates,
and the rest. So it's an interesting constituency to look at.
And it will be a repetition come December, December 7th in that same constituency, because we have the two same individuals who are contesting in that particular constituency as far as the parliamentary election there is concerned. Fred,
Sami,
thank you very much. From production to co-host.
If I do what do you want me to do next week?
I'm sure when Umaru comes back, we will ask him to continue his leave because you've taken over the show.
What do you want him to do next week?
It's been another exciting edition of The Citiuation. That came to you live from our studio here in Adabraka. My name is Sami Wiafi. I did it with
Fred Tete Javano.
We'll see you again next week. Be good.